All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Truth Unfiltered. I am your host, The Rev, and this is episode 10 of our Breaking Jasher series. Episode 10, we're going to go over chapter 10. And if you were with us last week, you know that we were on chapter 9, and we left off in chapter 9 was with the building and the destruction of the Tower of Babel. I know in the beginning of last week's episode, I had a pretty rather lengthy spiel on the little season and current events within it. And so I apologize for that part of it. But it needed to be said, some of that stuff, and some of it needed to be talked about and brought up and discussed as far as what's going on in the little season. And I was listening to Brother JT earlier, and he said his words were pretty good. He said it best, when he was talking about, he had mentioned that there was, forming different factions within the little season community, and I believe within all families that takes place. And this is a family. We call ourselves little seasoners, or maybe we just call ourselves seekers of the truth. What we call ourselves is irrelevant. What's important is that we all understand we're all here for the same purpose. We're all seeking God's word. We're all trying to learn and understand what it is that God wants from us, why we're here, and what led us to the point where we're at today, where we're all divided amongst each other in these various nations of people, ethnicities, and cultures. I'm not exactly sure why it is, but I can sit here and read these stories in this book, and I can see these stories in my head. Like, I can see these events taking place. I can visualize them. But a lot of that comes from my artistic ability, I suppose. The ability to be able to look at an image and draw it almost accurately. I don't know, I've always been gifted with that. And because of that, I've been able to see things as I read them. And I don't know why that is. I even like to write short stories and come up with different tales and whatnot. And one year I'd written an entire book about the angels, the fallen, not just the angels, but their offspring and stuff. It's pretty wild, the things I can do with my imagination, I suppose. But I can read this and I can see these stories. And as I'm reading through Genesis and Jasher, all these events are kind of unfolding visually in my head. And maybe a part of that has to do with the amount of times that I've read this stuff. As before we continue on, though, I want to welcome chat and welcome guys, and thank you guys for being here. And those that are new, this is a Bible study series, but we're going at it in an untraditional type of way. We're not necessarily cookie cuttering this thing. We're looking at this thing in a visual way that allows us to interpret the scripture as we're intended to. I notice people have a hard time reading it. And then the reason they have a hard time reading it is because we're all educated adults for the most part. Most of us have graduated high school and moved on to our careers and have studied and learned within those careers. But some of us ended up in other ways, other places in life. And that all has to do with opportunities, and these opportunities, I refer to them as doors. And as we open each door in life, it leads us down different paths. Sometimes those paths are extremely far away from the righteous path. Sometimes they take us down the wrong way. And so we're going over this Bible study to try to unfilter all the nonsense that we've studied, been taught throughout our lives. I was having an interesting conversation with someone today, and it's funny how, you mentioned something like that today, in today's world, we don't view things the way we should when we look at them. We read this stuff and we don't seem to understand that we're having difficulty in understanding what they're trying to tell us, because we're trying to read it as if it's a mystery. We place ourselves into events and time and eras within Scripture that we don't even belong, and that's where we get lost in it. And so we're going over this Bible study series to try to explain what happened for the most part. To be as simple and blunt and clear as possible, what happened? How are we deceived? Like, what led to this? And so we're kind of going through this thing line by line, precept upon precept. I seen someone had asked a question, and I wanted to answer that real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Mr. Hayden Smith said, where should he start in this channel? If you're new to this channel and this episode, just hang out with us. Every episode is unique to its own degree. However, if you'd like to check out any other my content, probably Revelations series would probably be the best place to start. That's where we really kind of hammer in the idea of perspective when it comes to understanding how to read and interpret this scripture. I had a couple of other questions. I've been taking notes as I go back and read through all the chat comments that I don't get to see necessarily, because I kind of got them, everything's kind of spread out a little bit. And so I don't get to see everybody's comments and whatnot as the episode goes on throughout the evening. However, I'll go back and watch them and I'll take notes. And so I've got a couple things I might bring up here and kind of go over. Especially, there's one in particular I wanted to explain or expound upon from last week. I thought it was a really good question. I think you guys will enjoy my speculative answer or interpretation to that answer. See, we have Brother Mad Pax in the house this evening. I love his comment. He left this comment. It says, I took the like button and set it up 30 years downrange. Now that like button has the first arrow sticking out of it. Man, it's a blessing that the level of love and grace and humility this entire community expresses. I mean, you just can't really find a better group of people online. Most people online are toxic. It's really pleasant. I cannot express my gratitude and empathy and love and adoration towards this little seasoned community. You guys really are amazing. See, we have Jenny Murphy, Tartarian Prepper, and let's see, we got Brother Trey, Miss Susie G Loves Jesus in the house, and of course we have Miss Wendy, Spirit and Truth, the original wrench wielder. And let's see, we got virtual, it just rolled up on me. See if I can find this. Where did I leave off? We got Mystery Gray, Doctor Who Manuel. Of course, we can't do this episode without Doctor Who in the house. And then we have Acts 2, 37 through 38 in the house as well. Amazing. Mr. Ad B and Kathy Slaw, one, welcome. Nice to see you. We have Pops as well. He's joined us this evening. Let's see. We've got, I think I saw someone else. Yeah, here we go. Virtual reality witness as well. You guys really are amazing. This is This is really a blessing. You guys, this is a full house. Wow. I mean, this is a humbling experience, and I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys really are amazing. But it's interesting how all these factions form within communities. You know, when people have a shared or common belief or a common idea, they end up dividing amongst themselves. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, and how do you prevent that? You know, because I see a lot of righteous people within this chat community and within the comments and stuff. But there again, we're just seeing one little side of things too. There are many sides to all of us, and there are many different factors that form our personalities and who we are as people. Every little event in your life is what builds this character that forms the person that you are. Whenever it comes to understanding scripture and understanding these people we're reading about, we have to be able to look at the story we're reading from the lens or the correct perspective for which it's intended for us to look at it. When we try to, what often happens is we'll try to look at this thing and try to understand it from a point of discovery. You know, we're going to open up this thing, and God's going to mysteriously reveal all these truths to us. Well, that's a silly notion for one, but it's also kind of selfish and lazy. It's a lazy way to come at it, but that seems to be the way that most people have been taught to come at it, whether we realize that or not. The way I like to come at it and see this thing is not that it's a mystery, but it's a divine tale of origin. It's a divine story led by the Spirit of God. None of us have the ability to write something so magnificent and pure and perfect as this scripture. I mean, it is sound and irrevocably true in every degree. You could interpret this thing almost any way you want and still come to the same understanding a lot of times. The issues aren't that we have to see it exactly the same from where I'm sitting. Everybody has to come sit in my literal chair to see this thing. We all can look at it from different points of view and angles. But we have to understand that those points of views and angles need to be leading each of us to the same and correct understanding of truth. We don't need our perspective to be skewed and have something in the way. So we're trying to come this way and come together, but we have certain blockers in our life that kind of push us away and force us to take other paths. And these paths and doorways and opportunities, while they may seem great and all on the surface, they end up being the very bane of our existence. You know, they're the things that hold us back and hinder us from exploring a reality in this world that we wouldn't have been able to explore before. The ability to see without seeing and to hear without hearing. It's the way I kind of look at it. You know, I read this thing and I hear the empathy, I hear the sorrow, I hear the vibration of the sound of Jesus's voice as he weeps, and he's talking and he's crying. I can hear the anger in his tone and in the tone in his voice when he's flipping tables and he's casting that whip at those Pharisees, those priests, and all those people doing wrong. But the thing is, we're not here to condemn people. That's not our place. It's our place to enlighten them. It's our place to, as JT says, and Brian, to be a light in this world. And we can do that by understanding the right way to be. Problem is, a lot of us have been taught that we just know and we'll just be able to feel it. And a lot of times we don't realize that what don't bother us may bother others. Doing it unto others is the way we're doing to others. Is that the way we want them to be doing unto us? It's loving thy neighbor or thy enemy as thyself. And they can be your enemy, they can be your neighbor. Being your enemy isn't like, I don't view it in the same manner of good and evil like most people probably do. I look at enemy as someone who doesn't have the same desire for truth that I do. Doesn't mean that I hate them. I still love my enemy. But I want my enemy to not be my enemy. I want them to be my friend or my family. And part of me, my circle. That's what I would like for all of us. I think that's what brings us all together on these Tuesday and Thursday nights when we do these Bible studies. That's what we're all looking for, is fellowship and people that have like-minded interests. Problem is, like I said, doesn't matter how like-minded our interests are, as long as we're victim of all the layers of deception that have taken place throughout our lives, there's always going to be slight divisions here and there that form through different doors that people get led into as they discover the truth in the times we're in within this deceptive time period. Brother Ron says, Proverbs 9:8, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Brother Ron keeps up with what we're going over. It's amazing how his mind works, and I can see that in the way his comments are. Good evening, Brother Val. I see you're with us this evening. Let's see, we've got a couple others here. Miss Dina, she's here this evening. Once one peculiar person. And also Pepe Silva. Good to see you guys. Miss Allison, good to see you, sister. Good to see you. And Mystery Gray. You guys are amazing. This is really wild. How uniquely and inspirational this whole era of time we're living in. It really is. It's an amazing thing. You can pray and have it answered. It's wild. It's really a blessing to have each of y'all here. Shalom. Shalom, Miss Lacey. Okay, Miss Lacey Lavender. Good to see you. And Brother Greg Y. Man, good to see you guys. Brother Greg Y, he's rather new to the little season and in our community of whatnot, from what I understand. So I appreciate him being here as well. And I hope he is seeing the same, the same love and adoration for chat that I've seen. I hope he sees it too, and I'm sure he does. But man, you guys really are awesome. So let me pick up back where we left off in chapter 9, where when we were finishing up, the entire Tower of Babel was destroyed. It said, and as the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third. And the third is left to this day, and it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. Man, that's a lot of folks. It's crazy how many folks are that when I imagine that, I can only imagine. It says, like I said, I see that people without number. I mean, how do you imagine that? I mean, how do you visualize that? That's a lot. It's just a lot of people. It's unbelievable. But this third, let's see. Let me open this up. This third, I wanted to kind of show you guys this. It kind of goes along with one of the questions I was asked last week in chat, and I didn't get a chance to comment on that or add to that. But I think this will help. So my son is in the house. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my boy. That is Mr. Tag Reaper. He is a gentleman and a scholar, for sure. Welcome, son. Glad you're here. This is awesome. Miss Trish is with us as well. Good to see you, Miss Trish. And let's get back to where we were. I don't want to get too distracted and too off course with this, but where was I? Here I am. Right here we have, let me pull this up. The whole earth. And to understand where I'm coming from and what I think we're reading, what we're seeing here, in line 38, in Jasher, you would call them lines. I mean, not verses. But in line 38, it says, "As to the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof." Okay, so I kind of went over this before, but I'm going to kind of make it where y'all can see what I'm talking about. All right. Boom. Uh-oh. That's not good. Well, either way, I done ruined that picture. I have to re-upload it. I'm going to divide this world like this. Now, do you see what 1/3 looks like? So we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3. And then you have 4. Now, this is 4 sections is how I broke this up. But this is me breaking this up. If we went back to, however, you could, I guess if you did this by 1/3, you could do it like, I don't know, how would you divide this by 1/3 into three ways? Something like that. I don't know what I'm drawing here. What's in my head. The point is that I was trying to make here. And this is not working right. Nothing is working right on this thing. Come on now. I don't know what's going on with my little tablet here. Let's see if I can do it on this picture. What I'm trying to tell you, all I'm trying to tell you here is that you have a lot of this land right here. And this thing does not want me to draw. I don't know what's going on. Maybe my pen is dead. That's probably the problem. My pen is dead. That's what it is. Okay. That's why I can't do anything. All right. The point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of area of the world right here where there's not a lot of land. When it says that 1/3 part of the world was swallowed up, this is what we can see from the moon map. But this is not necessarily the entire Earth itself. I mean, we don't really know how really big this thing really is. But what we do know is that there's a big section of land area right here where there isn't any land. And this area would be, you could call that 1/3. If you broke all this up, I mean, put all this together as one big landmass, it broke up, a lot of it broke up during the flood. But there was a lot of land left after the flood. A lot more than what we're seeing right here is what I'm trying to tell you. And I can't draw it on it because my pen is dead. I guess I forgot to charge it. But what you have here is, what I'm trying to show you is that there's a lot of area where there isn't any land, but that there was a lot more at one time. 1/3 of what was left, not 1/3 of what was before, is all I'm trying to tell you. That before the flood, you would have had a full earth of land with an ocean basically, or a ring of water around it, and four rivers that ran through it. You would have 4 major land masses with 4 rivers run through it and a big mountain in the middle. And what ends up happening after the flood, the land gets destroyed and broken up. But there was still more land than what you see in this moon map. But then 1/3 of it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the world was a big complete piece at one point. It got destroyed. And then a few years later, it gets a little bit more destroyed. So even more land gets destroyed. And so the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And so so not a third part from what it was before the flood, but a third part of what we're now at, which is after the flood. And the reason I'm explaining it like that and trying to emphasize it like that is because people will try to read this thing and these events as if they're all happening, or not understand the difference or the correlation between the two events, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They won't necessarily see that correlation because they're not paying attention to the fact that what it's saying, because they're not able to visualize the earth and what they're saying in that particular part of it, because their vision of the earth is a ball. It's this big floating planet flying through space. When you can see it from the flat perspective, what I'm trying to show you here is not, and it's not necessarily round just because that's what we see on the moon. We don't know. It could have square corners. We don't know what's outside of this. None of us do, outside of what we can see here visually. But what ends up happening by the time we get to Jesus, and I think the reason we have an ice wall, and where, like you see as I zoom in right here, you see these rings, this outer ring and would represent the ice wall. And you would have, and in the center right here, you have these 4 little islands. People call it Hyperborea or the North Pole or whatever. But in the center here is actually, and remember, this is just like a made image overlaid of the moon. What's in the center here is a tree or a stump. And that stump was burned, and now for some reason it's black and it's magnetized, and right above it is supposedly where the camp of the saints dwelling is. This is the speculative part, but essentially, if that is a magnet, I just seen this the other day in a I think I was just scrolling on TikTok or something, and I don't even get on there that often. But I was scrolling on there, and somebody was selling these little ornaments that go on a nightstand. And you take this magnet or this little spaceship looking thing and you set it on top of it, and there's this magnet in there, and it just kind of levitates, and it'll spin around and light up and do all that other good stuff. It's really fascinating what it could do magnet wise. All right, 1 second. Hey, I'm fine. I'm live right now. I'm on my computer. I'm on my YouTube live right now. That's all right. Can I will call you back though in a little bit. I know you're behind us on time. Right. Right. Oh, I got you. Well, okay. Well, look, let me let you go, and I will call you whenever I get a chance. I love you. All right. Bye. Sorry for that interruption. That was my dad calling. I figured he knows what I'm doing right now. I figured he there might have been an issue or something, but thankfully everything's all right. But back to what I'm trying to show you right here. So we're here, by the way, us in America. This is where we're at. You have the United States, and then Mexico, and then you have Canada, Alaska, and Russia. And of course you got Norway and Sweden over there. And then you have Greenland. This is where Greenland is. And then there's supposedly these 4 islands up here called Hyperborea. And what's supposedly in the middle there is this mountain. And then what I was trying to tell you is that mountain, if it's magnetized and there is a camp of the saints floating up there, then I could understand how it could be, especially if this mountain is magnetized. A magnet that big could sustain a floating something, a building of some sort, or some type of structure in some degree, on some level it could. And the reason I believe that today we really only can have access to this area. We don't have access to all of this land. And this goes into that question of, I think it was Truth Seeker that had asked me that. Said, why do you think that they didn't have the access, or why they had access to all of the land before and now they don't? Well, I believe something happened when Jesus' millennial kingdom ended. If we're true, and that's true and accurate, that his this is all speculation now, but if it is true that Jesus' camp of the saints is sitting here at the middle in the North Pole, above this thing, that when what we're calling the middle of the North Pole, it's doing something. It's creating some type of magnetic force that is creating this bubble that creates this Coriolis effect, and then it circles this little area, and it's creating this ice wall, forming this barrier around us, like a cage almost to say, I'm going to let you out, Satan, but you're going to have dominion over the world to deceive it once again for a little season, but you're not going to get all of it. You're not going to get the whole thing. And so I could kind of look at it like that's what's happening here with all of this. That the reason there's a dome inside of the dome, or a bubble inside of a harder dome, is because of this force that we can see visually at nighttime, and in the day in certain places when we are further towards the north, and we see the aurora borealis with all the green emerald lights and stuff floating through the sky. All that's from that energy that's being emitted from the North Pole. That energy and force is what's connecting this whole area and keeping it contained. If you were to keep digging into all the realms of conspiracy, you'll get to certain levels of understanding with it that you'll hear people say wild stuff like, this barrier is there to contain spiritual entities. They can't get outside of it. And so Jesus's device or machine or camp of the saints, whatever it's producing, when it creates this bubble that Elon Musk keeps trying to burst through, that bubble is what's containing the evil spirits, or just spirits in general, within this realm of earth that we live in right here, with Africa and China and Australia and of course, don't forget Lemuria. Of course, people that are new to this will look this up and go, well, they did say and admit that they found a whole continent right outside of China, North Korea, and Japan, but it's underwater. So they'll go Google this and they'll say that this landmass right here is underwater, when really, I don't think it is. I don't think it is, because if you were out over here in this area and tried to travel over here, you'd just go to jail anyways or get shot down. They're not going to let you fly over that and find out if there is a whole other continent out there. But that's a lot of extra land that they don't want us to know about. And look how massive Africa is. We look at it like this, and flipped over on a globe, it's kind of shaped like that. And that's kind of how we see it. And this is what their Nile is. In reality, I think it's over here. I think that's where the Nile is. But this is all speculation, right? We can't prove this. And the reason we can't prove this is because they won't let us. And I say try it. Let me know how it works out. That's how I know they won't let us prove this. Dang, I can't believe it saved that image with that line through it. Messed it up. But this is what you're looking at. This is how this world. This is how I visualize it. Whenever I read this, I'm thinking, how's this possible? Then I learn about magnets, and I'm going, oh wow, it's amazing what these magnets can do. And if that is a magnet, then I can now see how all of this would unfold, and how if there is a camp of the saints in the north, and this is a magnetized giant mountain, of course it could hold up a camp of the saints, something that would be a massive structure or building. And then I can visualize, I think about the aurora borealis and that energy coming out, and how this would create this toroidal field. And we know toroidal field, it will create a cooler, it's cooler on the outer edges of a toroidal field. It's just how magnets work. And so anyhow, it's just what I just kind of look at it, and I'm like, well, that would make sense to me. And maybe that would explain why we don't have access to all this. Now, I don't know if it's holding in spirits or not, this bubble thing that we're in. But essentially, that's how that works. And as we get through Jasher and these bloodlines and all these names, what we're about to start seeing in chapter 10 is the death of these people, the ancient ones, so to speak. The first of the big fellas, like the first tall people, the really big rulers of those generations, and during the time of Nimrod, Peleg, Ru, Serug, Nahor, and Terah. These were your folks who lived rather long lives. They're just bigger people, probably, all together. And as the generations progressed through Abram, they balance out. Abram is I believe, the way I understand it, is Abram would be where we are, about 6 foot tall on average. Of course, our average height isn't really 6 foot tall. We just like saying that. It makes us men feel better. But you have Arphax, Salah, Eber, and Peleg, Ru, Serah, Nahor, Terah, Abram. That's the first generations, the big people. And so, all right, let's see. Oh man, I think let me pull this up over here. We got brother JT. JT follows JC in the house. Man, how you enjoying Florida? I hope everything's going good over there and the weather's nice. I look forward to seeing what you come up with, brother JT, over there in Florida. And with all with the buildings and the ruins and stuff, I'm looking forward, and I'm excited to see that channel. I mean that episode whenever you finally get it all put together. I'm gonna try to do something similar whenever I go to Texas to see my dad over there and hang out with him. So we're gonna stop off in San Antonio. I'm gonna try to go to Dallas as well, but I'm gonna go through Houston, Dallas, then I'm gonna drop down into San Antonio. I'm gonna try to take photos and pictures and stuff of some old world buildings on my way through. I think it'll be fun. But good to see you, brother JT. That's JT follows JC. He said this place is legit. Yes, this place is legit, too rich for my blood. Yeah, I feel you there. Whew, they are doing well over in Florida, I can tell you that, when it comes to that. But that's the nature of the beast, it's how it works. But yeah, getting back on track where we were leaving off here, what I'm trying to tell you is that what we're about to read in chapter 10 is going to be where these families start dividing and separating according to certain ways of belief and whatnot. In chapter 10 of Jasher, it says in line 1, and Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, and all the days of Peleg were 239 years. Let me read that again. And Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram. So in my timeline, I know that you would say Abram, but he is now 48 years old, and when he becomes 48, that's when Peleg dies. So Peleg was one of the first, the first few generations after the flood. They weren't necessarily antediluvian sized people, but they were still bigger people. They were still larger people. By the time Abram is born, he's a little people, basically. Peleg were 239 years, and that was a normal life for his generation, but the following generations, they wouldn't be living 239 years. They start living, on the average, about 100 years old. And then what ends up happening, you get to 2025 in our time, and we barely make 80, some of us. But the point is that this guy lived 239, and that was for a normal person. By the time Nimrod comes into the scene, and Nimrod actually ends up living till about 240, he lives in a time where very few people live that long. So he ends up becoming like really Superman, because he ends up outliving several of generations that come after him. It's pretty fascinating when you can see all this stuff unfold. Allison M says, I still owe JT follows JC a Rotwall investigation, aka Rotwall. And brother JT says, I like it out west better. Take me back to Sedona. Yeah, absolutely. This is awesome. You guys are amazing. All right, ADHD is gonna start kicking in if I keep looking over at chat and trying to read that. But I love it. I love when you guys are communicating, talking. That's awesome. Let's see. And it says in line 3. Actually, we'll go back to line 2. And when the Lord had scattered the sons of men on account of their sin at the tower, behold, they spread forth into many divisions, and all the sons of men were dispersed into the 4 corners of the earth. These 4 corners, as I was trying to explain earlier, is this. This isn't, like I said, you don't break this up into thirds, not really. But you break it up into quarters. Let's see if my pen's working now, since I've done ruined this image. All right. Yeah, so I've already ruined this image, so that's good. But what I'm saying is that the 4 corners right here, these are your 4 corners. And then you can make this a square if you wanted to. I mean, hell, it don't really matter what you do with that. But the world fits into these 4 squares. And these 4 lines would have originally been rivers at one point. Of course, all this land gets kind of shifted around throughout all the events that take place throughout the time in our biblical history. And what I'm trying to show you here, it says, and when the Lord had scattered the sons of men on account of their sins at the tower, behold, they spread forth into many divisions, and all the sons of men were dispersed into the 4 corners of the earth. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the men and their families, they end up in these 4 corners of the 4 quarters of the earth. So all these would be controlled by different nations of people. Except this group, whoever was over here probably didn't have a good time. They didn't enjoy themselves too much because most of their land got taken away, got swallowed up into the earth. And so it says all the families became each according to its language, its land, and its cities. Their lands and cities, as they start building them, and maybe we build a city and we don't have, let's say we have parks and other places for people to hang out and public venues, but then our neighbors, which are our distant relatives, they have a city, and in their city they don't eat meat. They're all vegan and whatnot. And they worship cows or whatever. Each one of these nations and cities, they each one breaks up into these different factions. They divide amongst themselves from different points of view and perspectives on how to do right and how to live according to this way or that way. And it's all kind of really just mayhem and chaotic. But this is the world that they're building for themselves, what they're doing to themselves. This has nothing to do with what God's doing to them. But that's the way we're taught. We're kind of shown and taught how to approach this in life. Is everything is God's fault. He does intervene quite a bit, but in this point of it, he don't. He doesn't intervene too much. And what I'm trying to show you by that visual of the earth and what we're seeing there is the reason I'm showing it to you like that is because some of these places we'll never find, but you turn on the History Channel, they done found this city, they done found that city, they done found this, they done found that, and we buy into that, and we go, oh, well, see, we know where this is because archaeologists dug it up and they found it. We buy into all of that, and all I'm trying to point out is that not every place has been found, and not every place can be found. It's why we don't need to listen to all that. It's nice. It's cool to see when that they've discovered this or discovered that. There's nothing wrong with that, to discovering, digging this stuff up and repurposing it and, living in it or dwelling in it or seeing it or whatever. I wouldn't say that inherently that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but what the issue becomes when they start declaring it's this place or that place, and we cling to that and we go, and then people will get it in their hearts that they are these people, they can relate to these people, or they're related to them in some way. And that's them. And they'll take credit for these people that we're reading about. They take their credit and apply it to these people in these places in the world. And what we're seeing is that today, what they have is they're able to control the world by getting you to believe that this land is this or this land is that. You're part of this people. You're part of that people. You're part of this group. You're part of that group. You stay here. You stay there. You live here. You live there. The reason you're there is because, you evolved into a certain way to live right there. You evolved into a certain way to live right here. You should be over there and this and that, and it's how they start figuring out how to place themselves within the world. It's how they divide it. It says, and the sons of men built many cities according to their families, and all the places where they went, and throughout the earth where the Lord has scattered them. And some of them built cities and places from which they were afterward extirpated. It just basically means erased, like destroyed, completely gone. There's no evidence of it anymore. If whatever it was gone. It was there. It's gone. That's what extirpated means. And some of the men built cities and places from which afterwards they could never be found. Basically, if you was to reword that but keeping it within the same context. And they called these cities after their own names, or the names of their children, or after particular events. So not every city was named after a person. It could have been named after, let's say, a mountain collapsed or something. You could call it the city of the collapsed mountain or whatever. I'm not saying that exists. I'm just saying that as an example. And the sons of Japheth, an interesting one to me, because no matter what corner of society you look into, there's not a whole lot of people talking about the line of Japheth, and there's a reason for that. They don't want you to know much about who these people are. But it says here, the sons of Japheth, the son of Noah, went and built themselves cities in the places where they were scattered. And they called all their cities after their names. And the sons of Japheth were divided upon the face of the earth into many divisions and languages. And these are the sons of Japheth. Now, to be clear, I'm going to go back and give you some psychology understanding here. And the sons of Japheth, the son of Noah, went and built themselves cities in the places where they were scattered. It says, and they called all their cities after their names. And the sons of Japheth were divided upon the face of the earth. Now, notice before it said that these cities were called after their names or their children or particular events, but in this one, it's specifically by their names. What I'm pointing out is the narcissism, so to speak, the self fulfillment, the self-loathing, loving nature of Japheth's offspring. They are all about themselves, so to speak. Then they went and built cities and places. They were scattered and all called after their names. And the sons of Japheth were divided upon the face of the earth into many divisions and languages. Now, what would create divisions amongst family? I think I'm better than you, or I think I'm more right than you. It's this judgmental nature of Japheth's line to look at someone and go, I got to know more and better than them. I watch Rev's stream and I see he has crooked teeth. I don't have crooked teeth. I'm better than that. It's that judging nature that I'm better. I know what's best for me and for everyone else around me. You'll end up with a group of people that live here and a group of people that live there, and they're separated because this group here thinks it's better than this group because it builds bigger bonfires than this one. And so they come up with slang and terms that become inside jokes, but at to some degree, those inside jokes become narratives of reality for these people. They're a self-loathing people. That's how I interpret that when I read that. It's an understanding of the human mind, how it works and how we think. Well, that's not all of us, but that's just telling you how they think. So if you're reading this and you were ever you didn't know what was going on and you didn't know about high school education, you didn't understand all that, and you're reading this new, but you were a divinely gifted person, so to speak, you're reading this as a child, innocent, but you do have knowledge and understanding, you would say, and the sons of Japheth of Noah, they built themselves cities. They named them after themselves, and that's about it, and then they divided into their different languages and divisions. What would cause that? What causes division? What causes separation? They're all about themselves. Well, myself is better than yourself. That's how they look at it. It's how that's the state of their mind. And these are the sons of Japheth according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. These are the children of Japheth according to their generations. Not ours, not yours and mine. Theirs. Could be ours. We'll get to that point one day. And the children of Gomer, according to their cities, were the Frankum who dwell in the land of Franza. Sounds familiar. By their river Franza, by the river Sinai. Franza, France. I mean, it's kind of like in your face. Deny, deny, deny if you'd like. And the children of Japheth are the Bartonim. Bartonim who dwell in the land of Bartonia. Bartonia. By the river Lida, which empties its waters in the great sea Gihon, that is Oceanus. And the children of Tugamar, are 10 families, and these are their names: Buzar, Parzunak, Balgar, Elikanum, Ragbi, Tarki, Bid, Zebuk, Ongol or Ongal, and Tilmaz. All these spread and rested in the north, and built themselves cities. Well, the north essentially is really, it's this. I mean, in the world that they live in, this is their north. It's not our north, it's their north. But their north is right here, and look, I've already drawn an arrow point to it. That's their north. But north is like this. But then you have the middle, and then you have the south. So all of this land is south. Would be the southern lands. This would be the middle lands. Then you have your northern lands. So if you divided this all up, this would be equally 3 parts of a 4-part world. 3 parts of a 4-part world. But this was their north, so to speak. So they would end up here. Oddly, if you kind of flip over what they taught us in school, they're trying to say that they're way over here in the middle, basically, which would be like where England and France and all that is, according to our modern maps. All I'm trying to tell you is that land doesn't have a name. Places are nations of people. The only places that have names are places that would correlate with an event that took place took place within that place. It sounds weird when I say it like that, but that's how it's supposed to say. I guess that's how it's supposed to say it or sound. What I'm trying to tell you is that what we're reading about, even in Genesis, in the Bible, the land they're talking about is not the same land they show us on a globe or even a modern map with just 7 continents. There was a lot of land, a lot of places for these people to live and dwell. But that land gets less and less over time. God destroys a lot of it, just keeps destroying because these people don't understand. They just cannot get away from themselves. In a way, this is like a blueprint for any future society that comes along ignorant to look at this and go, ooh, I know how to take over now. This is pretty simple. Says, and these are the sons of Japheth according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Juvan, Tubal, Meshach, Tyrus. These children are the children of Japheth according to their generations. Then we get down to France, and then we get down to Britain or Bartonia or whatever that would end up being. And the children of Tucumar are 10 families, and these are their names: Buzar, Parzanak, Balgar, Elikanam, Ragbi, Tarki, Bid, Zebuk, Ongol, Tilmaz. All these spread and rested in the north and built themselves cities. And they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who abide by the rivers Hithlah and Italic unto this day. But the families of Angoli, Balgar, Parzunak, they dwell by the great river Zubni, and the names of their cities are also according to their own names. Now, did you catch that, what it said? It said, and they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who abide by the rivers Hithlah and Italac unto this day. And whose day, though? Mine and your day? It would have been whoever was writing this and whatnot. So this book, Jasher, goes all the way up to actual Joshua. But then Joshua outlives Jasher, this book. 'Cause at some point after Jasher ends, so Jasher ends, and then Joshua keeps living and ends up referring back to Jasher, to this book, so that people remember what he's talking. They'll know what he's talking about. And so this kind of is showing you their roadmap. Those are they. Oh, they abide by the rivers, Hitlah and Italic. What I'm trying to tell you is that I don't. I'm up to this point, we don't know. Are these people here today still, or is this up to this point? And then how much further, how much longer do they remain? Or are they there even after that time, after that date? Do they continue on and just stay there, or do those groups of people perish and die and decease? Some of these places go away. They get eradicated and destroyed. It says, and the children of Javan, or Javan, are the Javanim, who dwell in the land of Macedonia, and the children of Medier are the Orelim, that dwell in the land of Kherson. Macedonia. It's the Greek people. That's what that's referring to. That's your Greek people, your Plato era people. That's the people that believe in Zeus and Thor and all of that. That's those people, the Herculean type people. And then you have the children of Tubal, or those that dwell in the land of Tuscana by the river Pashaya. And the children of Meshech are the Shebashini, and the children of Tyrus are Rushash, Russia, that's the Russians, Kushni and Angolis. All these went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities that are situate by the sea Jabus, by the river Cura, which empties itself into the river Tragon. And the children of Elisha are the Almanim, and they also went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities situate between the mountains of Job and Shebathmo. And of them were the people of Lombardy, who dwell opposite the mountains of Job. This is just foretelling. We know a lot of us, we know that there's going to be a Job mentioned in the Bible. Well, this is that Job. And Shebathmo, and they conquered the land of Italia and remained there unto this day. Italians, at Italy. And the children of Chittim, this is where Alexander the Great comes from. Chittim are the Romim, who dwell in the valley of Canopia by the river Tibria. And the children of Dudonim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea Gihon, in the land of Bordna. These are the families of the children of Japheth, according to their cities and languages, when they were scattered after the tower, and they called their cities after their names and occurrences, and these are the names of their cities according to their families, which they built in those days after the tower. Now, just because we learn that some of these people become Italy and France, doesn't mean today where we say Italy and France are, that's these people today. Everybody today has been placed where they are. You didn't originate there a couple hundred years ago. And what I'm saying is we're a new people. We are related to some degree to these people, but we are a new people, but because we are a remnant of a returned people. Not all of these people, I don't think, come back. So they, I, to understand that, we just have to keep going through this whole book to really understand what I'm coming with that. So we will continue to press on through Jasher after this evening's episode. It says, and the children of Chittim are Romim who dwell in the valley of Canopia by the river Tibriu. And the children of Dudonim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea, of the sea Gihon in the land Bordna. These are their families of the children of Japheth. And the children of Ham were Cush, Mitzrayim, Phut, Canaan, and Canaan, according to their generation and cities. And the children of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. These of that line would have been the big people from like the first generation. They outlived the next generation a little bit. Some of them did. But they would have been the elders, so to speak. And to come directly from them, you would have been a superior person to our generation of people, or Abram's generation of people. And all these went and built themselves cities as they found fit places for them. And they called their cities after the names of their fathers, Cush, Mitzrayim, Phut, and Canaan. And the children of Mitzrayim are the Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuchim, Pathruzim, Casluchim, and Caphturim, 7 families. All these dwell by the river Sihor. That is the brook of Egypt, and they built themselves cities and called them after their own names. So directly after the flood, Noah divides the world into 3 parts and gives his sons those 3 parts. That's why they're dwelling in these places. And the children of Pathros and Casloch intermarried together. So the children of Pathros and Casloch intermarried together, and from them went forth the Pelishtim and the Azathim and the Jeremim or German, and the Githim and the Ekramnim. In all 5 families, these also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after the names of their fathers unto this day. I would assume that's Germany. I might be wrong about that being German or the Germany, but what I'm trying to tell you is that if it were Germany, that they come from Ham. They don't even come from Japheth, and then yet they live among them, believing they do. All I'm saying is that nobody today really knows who they are or who they come from. It's impossible to tell, really. But you can kind of tell by their works. That means their behaviors, their personality traits. And you'll see that, we'll see that as we get closer towards Jesus' day. As you build through the Bible and read through it, you'll notice there's a pattern with all these people. They behave the same way within their lines, in their genealogies. They kind of have similar character traits, and I don't know if that's a deep down genetic thing, if you want to go at it from a scientific perspective, or if it's a psychological thing, or it's just the way we're made. But you can kind of place people today in areas where they would kind of formulate theologies and ideas and ways of belief that mirror some of these people back in the day, and therefore you must be those people. And there may be some truth in that, and it may not be. None of us may be from any of these names that we even think about. I mean, we may be from them, but we may not be from the one we want to be or the ones we believe we are. It's really difficult. But there is a way to kind of figure some stuff out with all the races and stuff. But as we learn here, After they called their cities after the names of their fathers, and to this day the children of Canaan also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names, 11 cities, and without number. That's thousands, millions and millions of people. Without number just simply means you don't have time to try to count them. There's too many of them. And 4 men from the family of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 men: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. These 4 men from the line of Ham, it doesn't tell you who their fathers were. Like which one does Sodom and Gomorrah come from? But we just know that he comes from one of these people. He's from the line of Ham. That's Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. But it tells you they went to the land of the plain, and all that's trying to tell you. So if you were to find maps and look for places in the earth, and you were trying to locate where these people were from, they would be in the plains lands, the plain areas. They wouldn't be in your mountainous regions or your jungle regions. They would be in the plains, like the Midwest type places, like rolling plains. And they would dwell in areas like that. This is all it's telling you. Not necessarily that that's where we are at and who we are today, but what I'm saying is that these men built themselves 4 cities in the land of the plain. And they and their children and all belonging to them dwelt in those cities. And they were fruitful and multiplied greatly and dwelt peaceably. If you're all doing well, why wouldn't you have peace? They all have like minds. They all think alike. They all get along, so to speak. And Seir, the son of Hur, son of Hivi, son of Canaan, went and found a valley opposite to Mount Paran, and he built a city there, and he and his 7 sons and his household dwelt there. And he called the city which he built Seir, according to his name. That is the land of Seir unto this day. Sorry, I was trying to figure out if I was going to get a drink or not. I was undecided because that drink don't really quench my thirst. And Seir, the son of Hur, son of Hivi, son of Canaan, they all went and found a valley that was opposite of Mount Paran. And so you wouldn't look on a map or look at the world and say, well, this place here has a ton of rivers and marshes and whatnot. That doesn't sound like this place. So obviously you wouldn't, place this place in an area that doesn't resemble what it looks like, so to speak, is all I'm trying to tell you. Is that and there's another thing about these maps. We only have maps that are available to us. The maps that are available to us are only the maps that are allowed to be available to us. We don't know how many maps that show a world that we can't even perceive right now, that they hide from us. There are miles and miles of books that they hide in the Vatican. And I believe that is actually where the Library of Alexandria ends up being. And they just lied to us and told us it burned down so we won't look for it. But these are the families of the children of Ham according to their languages and cities, when they were scattered to their countries after the tower. And some of the children of Shem, the son of Noah, father of the children of Eber, also went and built themselves cities in the places wherein they were scattered. And they called their cities after their names. And the sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Aparshad, Lud, and Aram. And they built themselves cities and called the names of their cities after their names. And Asher, son of Shem, and his children and household went forth at that time, a very large body of them. And they went to a distant land that they found, and they met with a very extensive valley in the land that they went to, and they built themselves 4 cities, and they called them after their own names and occurrences. Asher the son of Shem and his children and household, they go out at that time, a very large body of them. That's a lot of them. And they went to a distant land that they found, and they met with a very extensive valley in the land they went to. A valley was there. This is where you would find these people. This is where you would look for. You would look for valleys. You'd be scrolling through these maps and exploring around, and you're looking for these valleys. That's where you'll that's where you'll locate these people. But you won't find their cities. Not all of them. Some of them you might find some old ruins of some of these cities, but you're not all of them. Most of them are not ever going to be found. Remember, they were eradicated. And these are the names of the cities of which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Rezin, Calech, Rehoboth, and the children of Asher dwell there unto this day. You see, Nineveh comes from the line of Shem. Not everybody from the line of Shem is good, obviously. We know because we know about the story of Jonas and the well in Nineveh. But not if we're new to this. We're reading it for the first time. We don't know that dude ever exists yet. We don't know about that story yet. Hadn't gotten to it yet. But we know about it because we have all had opportunity to read it, a lot of us. And it says, they built for them cities and called them after their names and occurrences. And these are the names of the cities which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Rezin, Calech, and Rehoboth. And the children of Asher dwell there unto this day. And the children of Aram also went and built themselves a city. And they called the name of the city Uz, after their eldest brother. And they dwelled therein, that is the land of Uz, to this day. And in the 2nd year after the tower, a man from the house of Asher, whose name was Bela, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. And they came unto opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. And in the 2nd year after the tower, a man from the house of Asher. Asher comes from and the children of Asher. So yeah, he comes from, where did he come from? Son of Shem. This is a 3rd generation people, is what they're telling you. They're a 3rd generation people. Asher comes from Shem. You have Shem. He is antediluvian. But then you have Asher, his son. He's a 1st generation post-flood. And his children. His children they wouldn't, like his 5th child wouldn't necessarily be smaller than his 1st child. They would all be roughly the same size. And all I'm trying to explain to you is that throughout these different nations of people, their generations are going to develop according to their growth, how fast they grow, how many of them there are. The more they grow, the more people, the more each one of them has children, they become shorter and shorter and shorter. You will have some cities where people are, let me bring this back up over here. You'll have some cities, like I said before, and other series episodes, like I've shown you guys this before, but what I'm saying is that in some of these cities, so for example, let's just go back up here. It says, and and Asher, son of Shem, remember, Shem is here. This is as tall as Shem can get. So this is Shem. This is antediluvian people. They're this height. So if we were to scale this out by feet or whatever, he's this height. All right. So you have, so what we have over here, let me make this a little clearer so you can see this. What I'm saying is that let's just let's just use this figure. We'll just say 25 foot. All right. Man, I can't write for nothing. 25 foot. And so this is Shem. Shem is antediluvian. Then you have his son Asher. That's Asher right here. He's not much smaller, but he's a little smaller. He's going to have sons. His sons, it says Asher, and Asher, the son of Shem, and his children, this is his children. That's his children. And Asher, son of Shem, and his children and household went forth at that time. There was a bunch of these people. He's probably having a lot of kids. This is Asher. I'm not sure how many he's having. Let's see. Let's see if it tells us. It says a very large body. Now, what it's talking about, the very, very large body of them. And they went to a distant land that they found, and they met with a very extensive valley in the land that they went to, and they built for themselves 4 cities. Now, these people are going to have kids. This is their kids. This is their generation. But each generation is a little bit less. They get down. And what I'm saying is eventually you're going to have a city that kind of visually looks like this. Let me erase all this right here. Let me see if I can make a chart or something, a little bit better chart. What I'm saying is that, yeah, we'll do it like this. So you have people out here antediluvian, and then you have Asher's people. They're right here. And then his kids, they're right here. But then you'll have a bunch of people like this. Because see, one person is going to have 4 kids. And these 4 kids, they're going to have 4 kids. That's 4, 8, 12, 16. That's 16 now after these 4. So now you have 16 lines down here. Like this. Well, what if this one has 8? Well, then you just add another line. He had 10. Oh, he had 15. No, he might have had 30. Didn't matter. Just add another line as you add those together. And then now you're starting to see what you're having is a few people that are really big in charge of the smaller people, so to speak. These people become the new gods. They become the new rulers, but they're not going to all become the new rulers right away. These people got to pass away first. Peleg, Ru, Serog, Nahor, Terah, that generation, that line of men, that whole group of people, they got to pass away before the next group can come up and take over and change things. That's why the colors changed. I went from black to red, and kind of showing you different colors there. But I'm just showing you that their names change, on their sizes change. By the time you get to King David, he's no different than you and me, as far as size goes. But we're still ways away from David. We hadn't made it to him yet. Let me close that. All right. And these are the names of the city which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Rezin, Calach, Rehoboth, and the children of Asher dwell there unto this day. And the children of Aram also went and built themselves a city, and they called the name of the city Uz, after their eldest brother. And they dwell therein. That is the land of Us, or Uz, to this day. And in the 2nd year, after the tower, a man from the house of Asher, so he's a 3rd generation, Shem, Asher, and now this particular man, whose name was Bela, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn, that's to gather, so to be joined with, his household, wherever he could find a place, and they came until opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. So Bela goes from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. And they came until opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. He's kind of like an outcasted people. They just kind of go wherever they can. They're just trying to survive. The rest of the family don't really have much for Bela, it looks like. And the man rose up and built there a small city and called its name Bela, a small city, after his name. And that is the land of Zor unto this day. And these are the families of the children of Shem, according to their language and cities, after they were scattered upon the earth, after the tower. And every kingdom, city, and family of the families of the children of Noah built themselves cities after this. And they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah forever. They don't want you to read this stuff and to learn this stuff because of lines like line 39 of chapter 10 of Jasher. Hold on. I think she wants to be put up. Are you okay? You okay, girl? Oh. Did it hit the tail? Is that what happened? Whoops. The kennel caught Mama Girl's tail, and it scared her. But back where I was, it says in line 39, chapter 10, Jasher here, it says, and they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah forever. It's telling you that there has been a governing mindset to people and societies and groups of people ever since the dawn of time. That has never changed. What we're doing today ain't no different than what they were doing back then. But as we all know, and as we all should know, that in the times we're living in, these governments do not support you and me in the way that we really believe they should or do. They don't care about us. It's all a show and play and act, and it's a way to keep you contained. It's a way to keep you distracted. Don't read this. If you read this, you'll learn that they established governments. They established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah. When you read these apocryphal books and these extra other books, you are reading the adult version. They don't want you to know certain things, and they don't want you to read it the way that they're telling it. And like I said, this is really the Old Testament in more of like it's brought out like a more broader form of the Old Testament of the Genesis prior to the Exodus and whatnot. They don't want you to know that when someone says, hey, we need to, we're all sitting here in the little season, we need to put JT in charge and Paul in charge. But they need somebody to advise them because there's a lot of people telling them stuff. So let's put Jason Jack as their advisor. Jason Jack's now the advisor. He's the one that we go to for this understanding or that understanding. And Culticon, that's where we're at on Sundays for our Sunday lesson. He's our Sunday school teacher. And we don't want to deviate from this because it just becomes comfortable and we become used to this. And then someone comes along and says, well, how do we address this issue or that issue. Well, we'll place Rev in charge of that. Now Rev's in charge of that. But what ends up happening is somebody up under one of us in this whole scheme of it doesn't like the way this guy's running it, or the way that that guy runs his area or this area or that area, because you can only have one master. You can't serve all these people. You can't look at all these people and go, I love the country and I love the government and I love the way we run things and do things. Who do you love in that? Government isn't real. Government is an idea. It's a philosophy of thought. It's the way to strategically manipulate people to where they can control them without chains. This is invisible chains. It's invisible restrictions. But they need these governments. They need them more than you and me. We don't need these governments that they're talking about, because we have the Word of God right here. We have everything we need to know. The laws, the do's, the don'ts, the yeses and the nos. We have all of that right here. But when we're taught how to read this, we're taught how to read it wrong. We're taught to look at this like it's a mystery. I'm going to just randomly open this up. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read this page, and God's going to deliver to me some divine foresight and knowledge of what's going to happen next, or what I need to do, or how I need, it's just going to, I'm going to be blessed in that. I'm a future prophet. I'm a today's prophet. You better listen to me. I know what's best. Listen what the Rev is telling you. The Rev is not going to lie to you, steer you wrong. Hell, I've already lied to you. Maybe I have, and maybe I haven't. I don't know. Some of the things that I say might be right, might be wrong. I could be deceiving and don't realize I'm deceiving. All I'm showing you and telling you is that I approach this through certain doors that other people around me would have never dared approaching, never wanted to open that door, because their dad and parents and mother and father and everybody else scorn those people for trying to look at those doors. Don't read Jasher. We don't need you to read Jasher. Don't read the book of Judas just because it's about a guy who betrayed Jesus. Don't read the book of Mary of Magdala just because we're told that she was a whore. Don't read this stuff because they're of this reason or that reason. In fact, don't even read this book. Don't study none of it. Don't look at these names. Don't apply a clear lens and filter to all of it, and just accept what we tell you. We're the authority. And if you don't like what I'm saying, I'm going to run it up the chain. I'm going to Jason Jack. And if he can't deal with it, he's going to run it up the chain. He's going to go to JT. And if JT can't handle it, he's going to go to Paul. That's a government. I'm in charge of you. I'm responsible for dealing with you when you need consequences and whatnot. It's where all these laws come from. I'll be riding down the road, going from one job to the next, and my helper's beside me, and I'll see something ridiculous on the highway, and I'll say, we just need to get rid of all these red lights. Oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. Can you imagine how dangerous that would be? We got rid of all these red lights. I go, yeah, probably. But let them weed themselves out. Let them kill themselves if they want to. I hate to say it like that. But if people want to doom themselves and damn themselves, let them do it. It's not our place to condemn them, is all I'm saying. But they need government. They need control because they don't know who they are. They don't know the truth of Christ. They don't know about the millennial kingdom. They don't know the time they're living in. They don't know what era they exist in. They don't even know if any of this is true. They believe in fantasy space. They believe in some ridiculous idea that these loons are going to end up on Mars somewhere. They believe in all this wild, ambitious, imaginative stuff that has nothing to do with the reality of the world we live in. And the only way that can be is if they institutionalize you, indoctrinate you, teach you that. We don't need a government to operate within righteousness. We don't need somebody to tell us that we're wrong or right or what we need to do this way or that way, when we know how to approach situations with wisdom and with understanding, knowing that if I open this door, it's going to lead to a world of hurt. So maybe I don't open that door, I open up a different one. Another door that maybe gives me a little bit more grace, gives me a little bit more understanding for this person's emotions or feelings. Maybe I open enough of those doors, people will see that path that I'm on and go, hey, I like that path. I like the way Rev approaches things. That I want to open those doors. Then you're not necessarily following it just because of me necessarily, but now you're following it as a result of, well, it's just the right thing to do. It's just the right way to be. If someone is in front of me and I see they've fallen, that's not me, but what if it were? I would hope that person behind me coming up to me would help me up. Check on me and make sure I'm okay. So maybe I pick them up and I treat them the way I would want them to treat me. If I'm driving down the road and I'm come to a neighborhood and I know they got a bunch of small kids running around, I slow down. I don't want to run over one of these kids. I don't want to hurt somebody. I'm going to slow down because I wouldn't want someone to come flying through here running over me. My neighbor, he decides to build a huge monstrosity in his yard. I don't like it. He knows I don't like it. It bothers me. Why? Why does it bother me? Maybe we talk about it. Instead, he don't build it. Instead, he builds it somewhere else. But we don't need a government to come in and say, you can't build that there. Well, not everybody's going to care what you think. Not everybody's going to care what you're going through. Not everybody's going to look at you and go, yeah, okay, I see your point. Yeah, we live in this nice little, tight little neighborhood right here. We don't need to really be putting out all this junk out in the yard. I've got junk car parts laying everywhere. Grass ain't been cut all week or 10 months, but everybody else's yard is well kept. How do we get that person to get on the same page as us? We have to teach that person. That person don't know how to do right for themselves. But there's a way to teach them without calling the police. There's a way to teach them without sending them a letter or to make them pay to be a part of this HOA or this group or that group. There's no need for all these government agencies when you understand how to just do simply right from wrong. That's the wrong way. I'm not doing it. That's the right way. Okay. Sometimes I get confused. I don't know which way is right, which way is wrong. Be damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's not always easy. But that's what this word is for. That's what this book here is for. It's what all these stories we read about are for. So we can read them and go, this person had a door to open. He could have chose a different door. Instead, he chose that door. I wonder what happens. I wonder why. We read it and go, oh, dang. If those people are vegans and those people are meat eaters, they're not supposed to blend together, because when they blend together, it creates Sodom and Gomorrah. They need to stay separated. I mean, I'm not saying vegans and meat eaters need to separate. It's just an analogy. An example. I'm not accusing or casting or anything like that. I'm just saying, as an example, you separate by ideas, by philosophies of thought. What way is the right way? Which way is the wrong way? How do I think about my neighbor? How do I love my enemy? How do I get them to see Christ in the way that I see Christ? It's to be that what you preach and what you speak, it's not being fake, it's not being misleading, it's not manipulating, it's not looking at somebody, watching them. Every time I said this, they squinted. Every time I said that, they raised an eyebrow. Well, maybe they did. But it's also maybe the way I'm saying it. Maybe it's my approach. Maybe it's my attitude. We don't know how to separate ourselves from ourselves because that's all we've ever been taught. Every generation before us, nothing has really changed. They're naming their cities after each other, themselves. Not each other, but themselves. They don't come together as a community and land in this place and say, I don't know, we'll name this place the land of milk and honey because God made it that way for us. We don't call it that because that gives credit to God. And then can't nobody own this land? Can't nobody control it? Because this is the land of milk and honey given to us by God. Nope, we're going to call it America. And everybody who lives here is an American. But to be an American, you have to follow the American way, the American rules, the American laws, the same as in the UK or in Australia, and Sydney, and over here in Brazil, and in South Africa or China. When you're there, you follow their rules, their laws. Because China is not named after a person. It is not named after what it is. It's just a name of a piece of land. A piece of land that can be owned and controlled as long as you believe it can be. As long as you fall victim and allow yourself to be misled by all these misleadings and deceptions within this world around us. Today, it would be very difficult and it would be a hard time for all of us if they shut down all the governing bodies. Because look around you. Every day you see people that have no idea about what we're talking about in this chat tonight. They have no understanding of all of that. You shut the government down, what are they going to do? They're going to lose control. They're going to be chaotic. You can't just shut everything down, boom, and expect everything to be okay. But that's the only way to fix it, is to just get rid of it. They're never going to. Somebody always wants to be the winner. Somebody always wants their name on that map. They want their name stamped on this city. This is Trump 2024. 2025 now. This is Trump land. This is what they want. Everybody wants to be the king, the big dog on the planet. And everybody wants to be associated with that. That's why you'll hear people say things like, my friend who's a lawyer. I don't care that he's a lawyer. That's your friend. Okay, what do you need to tell me? Oh, they like cars too. I like cars. Why didn't you just say my friend liked cars? Your friend who's a lawyer likes cars. Who cares? That's not, why would you do, we think about ourselves in terms of endearment, in terms of self-motivated, self-fulfillment. We are the top dogs. We don't know and understand how to separate ourselves from that until we are taught about it. None of us were taught this stuff. They didn't teach us about the Jewish and Roman War 70 AD. They didn't teach us about what happened what formed Rome to begin with. They didn't teach us about how big the earth is and how much land is out there. And they're not going to tell us the things that are important. They're going to tell us that we're going to Mars and that we're floating around on space balls and that we have to pay for energy because it's the only way that you could get it. And the only way to pay for that is for you to work and to give up your time and your energy, your personal energy. And they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders, their ways, their thoughts, their ideas. What I think you should be. I think every yard should be well maintained. I don't think any of them should have just piles of junk out front. But that's me. I'm not going to drive down the road to someone else's house and neighborhood and start yelling and fussing at them, telling them you need to clean up your yard. That's their problem. That's their yard. It's not affecting me necessarily, but maybe it does. It does, even when I don't say nothing to them. And I mind my own business, it still affects me because my kids grow up around it, and maybe they look at that and say, well, they don't say it don't bother them, so maybe it won't bother me. And maybe now my kid thinks, well, I don't like keeping my yard clean all the time. I'd rather just leave stuff out there like those guys, and I'm going to go do like them. Now, how do we know who's who? How do we know the difference? How do I know whose line you come from now? Now you're behaving the wrong way. You're behaving like people I done told you not to behave like. Well, you can go live with them type of thing. Or, no, you're going to change me? You're going to change us? Well, you can't change me. You got to wait till I die. You got to wait till these people pass away, and then that next generation can come along and start pushing their ideas. And then when we get to the point where Jesus comes into the world, it's because of it's a thing of necessity. They have books like Jasher and the Torah and Enoch, and yet they have information. They have just as much as you and me, just about. They just don't have enough information about their own lives and their own time. Funny. Neither do we. You get to Revelation chapter 20, it just says we have a little bit of time. We have a little season. That's it. That's all we get. Why would God just allow sin to just keep on going? Well, it's out of fairness. We're going to give these people opportunities and chances to make up their own minds, to follow him or to not follow him. They can't follow something they don't know. They don't know the God that we know about because they're being raised in these cities with their governments telling them what they can and can't know and can and can't learn. Just like today. If you don't teach your kids a government-approved curriculum in America, you're going to jail. Your kids are getting taken from you. Even if you homeschool your kids and don't abide by the state's mandates for your children, you're going to jail. You're going to lose them kids. Even if you're homeschooling. Some places are a little bit more lenient than others, and some are a little bit more strict than others. But in order for us to be living the way we're meant to live, there is no division of thought. We may come to conclusions from different points of view and angles, but the understanding is supposed to be the same within all of us. The only reason our understandings are not the same within all of us is because we're all taught something different. We're all taught different things, and we're all allowed to know certain things. We're not allowed to imagine and think and have these conversations and talk about this stuff openly, because then you're a conspiracy theorist, or then you're some just crazy nut job or whatever. You're just an actor in a game of cat and mouse and chivalry and whatnot. As my channel grows, I'll get the same rhetoric that JT and Paul get eventually. Oh, he's a shield. He's working for somebody. He said, we're not Jews, or we're not Israel. Oh, he said, well, he said, we're not from Russia. Oh, he said, he said, I'm not Irish. He said, I'm not African. Oh, what? He said he don't believe in the slave trade. Oh, he must be a racist. Oh, he don't like gays? No, I never say that. Never said nothing about liking these races. I don't know nothing about racism. My God don't teach me about racism. The God of this world teaches about racism. The God of this world is where all these thoughts come from that people have. This little season, it makes sense to me that we are only allowed a small portion of the world. What's the point in allowing us all the world anyways? We don't have time to access it. But if you consider this reality, say that we did have access to those outer lands beyond the ice wall this whole time, how easy or difficult would it have been to be deceived? If all of us are to be deceived in the little season, we can't be deceived if all the evidence of reality is all around us and available to us. It would have been much harder and much more difficult. All this is planned out. We're deceived simply because it's the time that we're in, the little season, Satan's little season, when the loosing of Satan took place, and now all the nations are being brought back together to be deceived. But who are these people that is us? Who are we? Where did we come from? Who are we? What line do I belong to? Am I a Hebrew Israelite? Am I truly Issachar, although just because my family comes from the Hispanic peoples in Mexico area? Am I truly Ashkenazi, if I'm an Ashkenazi Jew? Or am I a Judean or a Ethiopian this or Ethiopian that? What am I really? How do we know? How do you really know? You can kind of tell by their actions and their attitudes and their fruits, but like I said, we just went over this. It shows how one guy from one family would rather be like a guy from another family. And so he goes and joins with them, and now their children don't know that some of them don't even come from that. Some of them come from over here. But how do they know? They're all mixing. They're all grouping together. This group is over here mixing, grouping together. If we drew this out, it would be like a tree with thousands of branches. Yet you telling me that somebody today can do a quick Google search and a DNA swab and suddenly they know who they belong to and who they come from? Get out of here with that nonsense. They don't know squat. None of them can tell you anything. We're just like when we went over that little clip of Wes Huff, and he's one line, and the children of Aram also went, and he's not reading it in English, he's reading it in Hebrew, and we're supposed to look at that and go, oh man, that dude is impressive. He knows what he's talking about, because he's reading this stuff, but I can't even read that. He knows a thing or two. We follow his path and his doorways. He's opening these doors, and he's he goes from 1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000. Now he's got 400,000, 500,000 subscribers. He's big time. He's the guy you want to be like. He works out. He's got big muscles and nice shirts. He's good chiseled jaw, perfect hairline. He's on top of the world. He's been on Joe Rogan. Yeah, that's the guy we need to listen to. Follow him. I like the doors he's opening. You want to be like the president? You want to be like Donald Trump? You're going to be like him. You're going to follow his ways. His patterns, his thoughts, his mental procedures. We're not following the word of God. We're not following scripture. If we were, we wouldn't need these governments. We wouldn't need these rulers and these authorities coming after us, telling us how to behave. We would just simply treat each other the way we're supposed to treat each other. It's that simple. Do right, not wrong, no matter what. Integrity. It's what that is. It's doing right even when no one is around watching. I can't name how many times I've picked up a stranger, given them a lift. I'm not encouraging that. I'm capable of taking care of myself. I can do that. Miss Susie G loves Jesus. I'd be real disappointed to find out she was picking strangers up every time she drives around. I'm not encouraging people to behave in that way and to do what I do. And when it comes to that, what I'm saying is that I do stuff like that and don't even think about it. It's not a matter of, oh, shouldn't I? I see someone tweaking out. I might keep on driving though. I'm not going to pick that dude up. He's not ready for a ride. He's tweaking out. I can see that. I'm judging his fruit right now. But when I see someone walk in and they got a backpack on and they got the thumb out and I see that they're just trying to get somewhere, I might pull over and I might give them a lift and tell them, come on, ride with me. You can ride with me, but you got to listen to me. Well, I don't listen to nobody. Boy, I'm driving off. Because in my vehicle, it's my way or the highway. I'm going to go by the word of God. I don't care what anybody thinks about it. The world is going to hate me for it. They already do, a lot of them. But they don't have to. As long as, if they could ever just understand what it says and how to read it and interpret it themselves. You guys in chat are always awesome and amazing. Anybody new to this is going to come in here and listen to what I'm saying, read what we're going over, and they're going to see Chad over here and they're going to say, Amen. Amen. Allison and Susie G and Trish Clark, Trey, Axe, the way y'all are acting, that's the way we need to be. They're going to see that and go, yes, this is the group of people I need to hang out with. You know what? I love this community so much. Look how awesome they are. I can't wait till I get to go hang out with Jason Jack. I can't wait till I get to grab Susie and wrap my arms around her and give her a big hug. Can't wait till I get to bump fists with Brother Ron Miles. It's not about who's better or who's more right than the other. All these little divisions. We're all seeking the truth. We all are coming at it from different angles and perspectives. We don't need to judge each other for the doors that we've already went through. We judge people by their current action, the way you're treating me in this moment. In this moment, chat is treating me beautifully. Good night, Allison M. I know you got to go. Good night, sister. I will see you tomorrow on Ceiling Fan Man's channel. And by the way, I looked into that as far as getting Ceiling Fan Man this panda dog, and as long as I plan this out in advance, I can make it up there in a flight for less than $500. So it might take me a few weeks to come up with that, detail and as far as all that goes, but I know there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way, and I always put faith in God. If I say I'm going to do something, people that do know me know I'm going to do it. The issue sometimes is just because I say I'm going to do something doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to do it the minute you're ready for me to do it. And I have to remind myself of that whenever Wednesday rolls around and Culticon ain't going live. I'm going, golly, what am I going to do with this time? I don't need to get mad at him for not being there. I just simply look at it like, well, he's got something he's got to do. I'm not mad at him. I'm not going to be upset at the way life turns out for other people is all I'm saying. What I can be upset with is when I say, hey, this is the right way. If you want to look at this, I know it's different what you got, but I already looked at it your way. I wanted to show you a different perspective. Let's look at it this way. Either that or don't. It's how we treat each other. And how we treat each other isn't difficult. To be righteous isn't difficult. It feels good, actually, to be good to one another, to love each other. It really does. Let's see. I want to check back up back here again. See, I didn't mention that, but we have Brother Jason Jack in the house with us this evening as well. And what a blessing to have him in here. He's one of my favorite content creators. See, last thing I believe he says, classic French Quarter scam. I bet you $20 I can tell you where you got your shoes. You got them on your feet. Now give me 20. Exactly. It's just how all these different areas, we call them cultures now, you know. If you go to the hood, you got to behave and act a certain way because that's how they act and live in the hood. When you're in the gated community, you got to act and behave a certain way because you're in the gated community. It's the same way with all of this. We are self-governing people. We've been that way because people are self-centered. Everybody always thinks they know better than the next person. I don't think I know better than anybody. I don't think better of anybody. I just trust this word over myself. And if that makes me come across as arrogant or too confident, well, so be it. But I am confident in this book. I'm confident that if we follow it, we can have a perfect and peaceful world where we all get along. But the problem is, no time throughout human history has there ever been a nation of people that abide by the laws and words and the lessons within this book. And so no one today can say that if you follow it, it ain't going to work out and it's not going to be good. But they will say that. And they'll say that without having ever tried it. While believing that they've never tried this government. They've never had politics. We've never had leadership like we have today. But when in reality, it's been this way forever. And nothing's changed. It's always going to be this way. And as people decide to separate this way or separate that way, they get misled by all those different governing systems that bring them away from the truth. But that doesn't have to be that way, and that's not exactly what I see in chat. And I know that we get separated sometimes, but we shouldn't let the little things bother us. The things that others within the world condemn, I don't necessarily condemn, but that's me. We don't need to condemn each other just because someone says so. We need to fact check that and go, should I condemn him? You know, let's see what the Bible says about it. Yep. The Bible says that men shouldn't wear dresses. There's a reason for that. Look at here. Look at that. Look at this lesson. Look at that lesson. Look at this lesson. Look what they went through. Look what they went through. Oh, because they were wearing dresses. Now you got today men trying to wear dresses. What do you think's going to happen? I don't know. It's never been done before. We're the first people to ever try this. You would only believe that if you weren't taught that. But we're not taught that. We're taught we're the first. We're the first to try everything. We're the first people to want to go to Mars. We're the first people to be deceived. We're the first people to be this, to be that. We're the first. We are number one. We are the most number one thing to ever exist. Me, myself, and I. And when we're taught like that, we need these governments. Because you can't control a group of people that all think that they should be the boss. They all should be the winner. And they all should have the authority that they weren't given. So you got to have that today. Eventually, we won't. Yeah, they were getting excited over, I guess they're having dinner now. If you know what that means. Because they are still babies. But yeah, they... that one, she was getting excited over there with her meal. But look, I wanted to say thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer type of mentality. I'm not trying to kill the vibe. I'm just trying to explain to you that what we're seeing is not necessarily a blueprint, but it's a lesson. It's the lessons that that allow us to avoid these problems and these mistakes. Let me catch back up over here with chat, and then we're gonna shut this down for the evening because we've already hit our 2-hour mark, and I don't want to waste too much time of too many people's time. It says, let's see. Val says, in the Nazi pose after Musk's charade, cracked me up. That episode was hilarious. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I know what episode you're talking about. That was from that was one of those things that people just don't like because it has an affiliation with this thought or that thought or whatever because society says so. Brother John Fry, good to see you, man. He said life is a test and struggle at times, but it's a lot easier with our Father in heaven and King Jesus Christ. Absolutely, Brother John. I'm glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hadn't seen you in a while. Let's see. D. Kraut says, thanks so much for what you do, brother. Thank you for that, brother. Thank you. And of course, he says, I haven't gotten a hold of you lately. Been extremely busy with work and life. Praying we can get together soon. We will, Brother John. At some point, we will. But you already know. And if I was talking to you on the phone, you'd say it to me too. That everything happens in God's perfect timing. Miss Kathy Slaw 1 says, I've zoomed through all of Connor's videos. Love his authenticity. He needs to crank out some more videos for me. Yeah, I like his stuff too, you know. And I'm not trying to. I'm not playing sides here or anything. I'm not saying one way or the other on all of that. Some of you guys know what we're talking about in that what's going on between our community. But what I will say to that is that it's hard to know somebody without really spending time with them, you know, without actually sitting down and listening to them. But it's hard to listen to people when we've been trained for so long how to view each other. You know, this person don't wear a suit, then they can't be a lawyer. And if this person don't wear a dress, they can't be a girl. Or the same as all other things in the world. You know, it's how we function with the way we think and how these thoughts are placed in our heads by all the little things around us. See, Brother Ron Miles says, in this little season, we are all orphans adopted by Jesus. Absolutely. We are all one in Jesus. Every one of us. He said, Colossians 3:11, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian or Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all in all. The important thing to understand for all of us in the little season is that we are all children of God. We all stand the opportunity to open the door and allow Him to walk in and guide us. We can't do that if we don't know what He's talking about and what He means for us and what the truth is. And without reading it and without studying the Word, we'll never know. And if we continue to rely on these people who are trying to govern us, then we're never going to really learn and understand the truth. There are ways to do this and make this world better. Is it going to get that way? Well, as far as I know and can say, it's never going to get that great, but it's never going to get that bad either. But what it does do, it ends. And when it ends, it becomes new. A new world. It could be metaphorical or it could be physical, but I doubt it's metaphorical. Much of this world has been destroyed, as you guys seen in my imagery with the moon map. I don't have any reason to believe that new means a destroyed world that's been here for thousands of years. That doesn't mean new world to me. From the little season literal perspective, new world means new world. That new world may be that so-called Mars that Elon Musk is fantasizing about, but I doubt it. I don't have any reason to cling to this world or anything in it or of it. What I cling to is the Word of God and what it leads us to after this world. Where it's leading to me to tomorrow is Friday, and tomorrow I'm going to be hanging out with Ceiling Fan Man unless something comes up and interrupts that. But as far as right now goes, I'm going to be hanging out with Ceiling Fan Man. For those of you that are new to this channel, please, if you'd like and subscribe. Otherwise, glad you're here. But it does help with the algorithm, and the more people that can hear this, the more people can understand this stuff. It can actually come to Christ in the way that we're meant to come to Christ. And that's the goal with this, right? Is to get the message out, to spread the gospel, to spread the good news that we don't have to deal with tribulation. It's already done with. The good news that we don't have to be the ones that kill Jesus, and we don't have to be the ones that befall to these cities of the past, and we don't have to deal with all their problems and burdens, that we can move forward in love and grace. Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. And as long as we follow his word and understand that he is king, we could have peace on earth and goodwill towards men. Look, you guys have been awesome and amazing. I will see you guys next week. We'll be back on Tuesday. And until then, I will see you guys Friday in Other People's Chat. You guys have been awesome and amazing. What a blessing to have each and every one of you guys here. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. God bless, and we will see you next time.
I was a lonely silhouette, needed somebody to show the way. Yeah, I was a heartbeat with no sound till you came around. Yeah, you showed me colors, light in the darkness. You were the only thing I needed. Then we got older, but we stayed the same. Swear that we never lost the flame. Nostalgia, you're an echo in my head. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, nostalgia, don't you ever slip away. Oh, nostalgia, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, like a symphony of our memories. Oh, what if the years turn into gold? The longer we live, yeah, the more we grow. We could be 100 miles apart, but it's never far. Yeah, you show me cars.